that. That's kind of weird.
Okay, I've taken some medication. What can I say? And, thank you, Jason, for coming on and devoting your time to my meager little show. And I guess we'll just start chatting. And thank you, Sue, for doing this.
Glad to be here.
I really appreciate it, and I just thought it would be more fun, and I thought, who wants to listen to me drone on and on? And we all know we can get talking when we get going. I was thinking about our road trip the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, that was such a long ride, and I'm like, but it kind of went by fast with the chatting and minus the all that rain and, I was a little tense, but...
And you didn't do any videos?
Downtime.
What's that?
You should have posted some videos.
Oh my God, we should have made a road trip video.
That's right.
There you go. Next time.
I do that all the time.
Oh, I know. I want to make a road trip video with you, and I want to sing because it's as good. Although you and Gary, that was awesome doing.
We did Every Rose Has Its Storm.
Oh, that's right. The Poison. Oh, that was a long time ago. I'm trying to remember back to the days when I used to listen to them. And they did a really good job. Jason played the guitar, which he's very good at doing. I've seen him. We went into a shop one day when we were on an investigation, and he picked up a guitar, and he's really impressive. And it's very hot, I have to tell you. From my personal female perspective, it's very hot.
How many of those pills have you taken?
What's not hot?
What female doesn't like to hear a guy playing like an instrument, though? I mean, Sue, am I right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, pretty much any musician's got it in the bag, yeah, I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they should.
Almost. The accordion, maybe not so much.
So Jason is on one of his many talents is a paranormal investigator. Would you classify yourself as that? I mean, I know there's so many different...
There's a lot of different terms to consider yourself what you are. There's the basic, the basic ghost hunter, and then there's an investigator, then there's a researcher. I just hope I help people along the way. That's it. I don't want really classifying myself as anything. I'm more of a researcher than anything.
Right.
I like to investigate, and the whole goal is mainly just to help people and do what you can that way, whether if you're doing an event to help raise money for something or, going into a client's house and helping them, see some kind of answers that they're looking for or just make them feel comfortable in their own home.
Exactly. Now, I've done a couple of investigations with Jason, and you really, really do try to help people. And I don't know if I want to bring up the investigation that we did, and I'm just bringing this up because I happen to be there.
Is it a residential or a non-residential?
The residential.
All right, as long as we don't mention any names or anything like that.
Oh, no, I don't remember their names anyway.
That's good.
And we went in, and, I mean, you have I don't know how else to say this without it sounding bad, but you have incredible, great equipment that you go with.
Sometimes.
I don't know how else to say that without that.
I got the equipment, baby. I got it.
You do. So I decided no matter where I say that or how I say it, people are going to take it the way they're going to take it. Okay, that didn't sound good, but all right. Now, what do you personally, I know you've been asked this question a million times, how do you prefer to do an investigation? Let's say we're residential, not like a big,
when I typically do a residential, I normally bring the least amount of equipment as possible. I'll bring a couple of cameras and, my KG meters and millimeter and different types of recorders and whatnot and so forth and so on. But for the most part, I mean, as well as I just walk around my KG meter, my recorders in my ear, and that's pretty much all that I go by. But, I also bring some of the more spiritual things into it, like pendulums and dowsing rods, depending on, the circumstances or whatever the case is. But, I mean, the whole goal is to ensure that each one of my investigators has a tool that they're comfortable with, because you got to be comfortable with the equipment in order to get the results that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I do like to bring a barrage of different types of gear in, but for the most part, I just walk around with a KG meter and my recorder and camera.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was one of the things that, when I first met you, I thought was impressive from a psychic perspective. You weren't just there with the electronic stuff and the professional devices. You were open to the pendulum and something that, as you said, is more on the spiritual side. And I guess I view it as more from the psychic perspective, because you're not relying on electromagnetic anything. You're just relying on like energy that's out there. And I went on a couple of investigations with someone who was very the pro-science aspect of it. And,
that's really define what is science in this field and what's not.
And that's the thing I kind of, was hard for me to wrap my mind around from, again, my perspective, because I thought, you're dealing with the paranormal, you're dealing with energy. I mean, is there something out there? I believe there is, but again, for argument's sake. And, these particular people were very, unless you can capture it on a video or actually record it electronically. But I don't know, I just thought that was just a really strange way to come at it. Because it's great to have proof, but it's the unknown. I mean, you can't really capture the unknown.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's nothing tangible. I mean,
well, I think the first step of trying to capture something that may be unknown or paranormal, or whatever term anyone prefers to use, is to find out exactly what it is we are looking for. I mean, there's a lot of theories out there, and everybody has their own theory, whatever the case is, or teens, or you have the people who watch the TV shows and go on their theories and think their theory is 100% fact. When in reality, it's just an idea, theory. That's all theory is. It's just something that someone came up with some evidence to support it, but doesn't turn into a fact. It's not enough to make it a fact. And the whole key is to act first. It's got to try to find out what it is we're searching for. Is it really energy, or is it something else? Our meters obviously go off, but our meters aren't specific to any particular type of source. A K2 meter is just not going to go off when there's an EMF field. It's going to go off when there's microwaves around, when there's radio waves and all kinds of things. So how do you determine if what we're looking for is really EMF or something else that the device is looking for? I mean, we really got to start honing in on what it is, the answer, the answers that we're seeking.
I thought it was interesting. I mean, you see it on TV shows and everything, but when you put the K2 meter up against, when we were in the one house, was it the piping down in the basement?
The plumbing,
and the plumbing, and I was like, oh my God, that one particular, small house we were in the little tiny basement, like, when you went down there, it really did make you feel funny. But then once you saw
that particular location had a lot of things going on for it that made you feel funny. There was a huge EMF hole one that had exposed wiring, and that basement was extremely cluttered. And I don't know about anyone else, but when I get in a place that's cluttered, I get real agitated. You know what I mean? It's like, will you clean this fucking place, please? and that alarm will start messing with your head. So, I mean, I had a lot of downfalls with it while investigating to try to figure out what's going on. But I hope they did find, what the answers I gave them. I hope it's helpful to them. But I don't think it has, and I'm probably going to want to have to go back to that particular residential.
Yeah, I mean, having been there, as we've talked about, I kind of think that it was definitely just, personal issues and everything, but I do believe, as you were saying, like a cluttered basement, and I was just thinking about it earlier, cleaning my house, working full-time and everything, and having a couple of young kids, my house, in my personal opinion, was just a mess. And it's like when you walk into it, it makes you feel horrible. And it really has an impact on, well, that's not my kid, I know that.
Not mine. I don't have any.
Yeah, I know they're not Sue's. Sue's talk, but not like that. It's a voice from beyond.
I was wondering. Get that.
It was the first time I heard voices from beyond, and not just in my head. But we were cleaning, and it was like, your mood lifts, so it really does, like a lot of clutter and everything really does have an impact on, well, I'd go so far as to say, like, something doesn't feel right in my house. That's why I don't know how if you ever watch that hoarding show, I mean, which...
I watch those hoarding shows because it makes me feel much better about my house.
It does. It really does. I watch it, and I'm, like, almost obsessed with it. I'm like, how can these people... and it's just... I wonder... I hope that's not my house, my children. Sorry, I'm like a cat. You put something glittery in front of me, I get distracted. Yeah, oh, it's shiny. But anyway, my point being that it really does make a difference, but it was really impressive to see the actual equipment working to see for myself, to see it from a different point of view. No, Sue, have you been on any investigations?
I went to one probably about a year and a half ago in Virginia. It was,
really?
I don't know. It was. I haven't been on enough of these to even make any kind of judgment call. Like you guys, I don't know if you can tell right away that it's sometimes it's just a grasp for attention, and it's really just all a bunch of what's the word, chaos within the family, but not really anything supernatural. That's what I felt like what was going on, with this case. But, it's kind of neat. It was an old farmhouse, probably built in the 1840s, and it had an attic where they were actually hiding some of the why can't I think the Union soldiers, not the rebels? So that had a history in itself. So that was pretty cool, but nothing happened. It was just a lot of stuff going on with the family.
Right.
I think personal issues, but in most cases, investigators. And a lot of times I think it's because they don't want to admit that there's a problem going on in their family, or they don't want to deny it. But sometimes that does happen, and they're automatically assume that it's some kind of ghost making this, shit house turn into even more shit when when in reality, that a lot of times all they need is just some counseling.
Well, the thing, too, in this particular case, and she says it's because of the house, her husband left her and the kids, but she says it's because her husband turned into somebody that was, he just turned into a completely different person when they moved into the house. And he ended up eventually leaving. So that's possible, too, but, you know.
They're just buying a new house and not having any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there's the voice of reason.
That'll bring out the worst in a lot of people. Yeah. It sucks.
Well, I will say from just, again, my personal point of view, I've, which I haven't mentioned so far on this show because, I'm really new at this, but, I've done psychic work since I was a kid. But I have personally experienced an attachment. Now, and it really did. It overcame me. It changed my whole personality to the point where, like, I literally became a different person and started doing things that I never would have done. And, if someone had told me that, I would have said they were nuts. I would have said, all right, someone's been watching too much, ghost TV shows, but it really did, and I wouldn't believe it if it hadn't happened to me. But at the same time, I mean, I do believe that you can move in somewhere and it can totally change your behavior. I mean, I don't know, obviously in that case, but I don't know, I guess that's a rough one because I definitely see both sides of that.
Yeah, well, it also goes back to if you're in a house and you're absolutely terrorized to the point where you have no choice but to leave, and with nothing but the clothes on your back, and then lo and behold, a couple months later, another family moves in, and they don't have any problems at all.
Well, sometimes I think what happens is, and just throwing it out there, but I've witnessed it hundreds of times, and not in the paranormal genre, just in real life, that people tend to pack up and move out of the location that they're at just to try to start a new life and start over, not realizing that just because you're in a new town doesn't change your personality, doesn't change who you are. That's going to stay the same. You know what I mean? So if a couple of assholes leave their house to go into another town because they want to start a new life, and they're still assholes. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
There's the Jason I love. So politically correct.
I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah. I mean, maybe the guy was having a crisis and it just happened to hit at that time.
Very much like this. Men go through those all the time.
Yeah, they do. They do. And thank you for at least admitting it. from a man's point of view.
Yeah, theirs just lasts a couple of decades longer than us women, that's all.
just a couple.
I think it's days, from like their 20s to like 70. I don't know. Just thought.
The proven fact that they say men do go through menopause now. No, certainly not in the same way.
Menopause.
Yeah, menopause.
This isn't a fact. That's not even.
Yeah, look it up.
I can tell you exactly what happens, and this is what happens. A guy's more adventurous, they're more free-flowing. That's typical guys, and I'm sure both of you hot fucking chicks can agree with that. We like our stuff, and what happens is we get married, we have kids, we give up our entire genre and dedicate our life completely towards your family. And they're 40 years old, 50 years old, and their kids are growing up and out of school, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life now because I gave up everything for that. So what am I going to do? Well, let's go out and buy sports cars, let's go out and buy guns and try to take on other forms of hobbies. It's true, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I agree to an extent, too, and it's just like, also, technology has made it so much easier. You don't have to go out and kill dinner every day. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's true.
So it's like so much is being taken care of. It's just the whole concept. It's just,
It's like men don't have that genetic purpose.
It's just like you said, what do I do now?
Right.
So that's where the midlife crisis comes in. What's considered the midlife crisis? They're just trying to go out and find out exactly who the fuck they are. Because, well, they forgot while raising kids.
Yep.
It's true. Well, see, how come women don't get the credit for that? It's like, oh, she's,
And women are genetically and DNA'd to be mother figures.
I agree with that. And as a woman, there's a lot of women that are probably going to, like boil in their skin at that comment. But
there's a lot of women probably, but I'm sorry, it's true. They're all growing up. What do they want to do? They want to play house. They want to play Barbies, where their Barbies have kids, and the mother's cooking dinner, and that's what female kids do. What do guys do? They drive monster trucks and play in the fucking dirt. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I can't.
That's only if their wives will let them. Let's get that straight now. Okay.
I'm just saying, I can't ignore the obvious.
As much as I wish I could disagree with you, I can't. I mean, because
I
have my days. Yeah, I have my days where I'm like, oh no, because in my 20s, I didn't want kids to save my life. You couldn't have convinced me. But then, something does happen, and we do. I have to agree with you.
I don't think anyone really has a choice.
Just what you have to look forward to when you hit your 40s.
I'm not even going to say a word. When I get to look back into my 40s, and never mind. Oh God.
We're still hot for our age still.
That's right.
You're extremely blonde.
So, actually, Sue, I want to ask you, because you come at this from the paranormal thing, a little different point of view. You're more of, from what I know of you, you're more of like a skeptic, where I've been given kind of no choice. I mean,
right.
But I like that because it makes me stop and think, and it makes me see other people's point of view.
Well, I think I'm off as a skeptic, and I'd be the first to admit it. However, I like to consider myself a neutral bystander, and I'll tell you why. Because when you start getting into it and you start believing in something, and you start, listening to all these theories and putting that into action, your evidence starts getting manipulated to fit that specific belief structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that.
That's really true. It's like when you go in, if you do a haunted ghost tour of, when I went to one place a couple months ago, and they start giving you, okay, well, this happened, and then, if you talk to this item, it will do this and that. But then it kind of ruins it because you already have this preconceived idea of what you're expected to see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't you have you actually have personal experiences though too, don't you?
I got hundreds of personal experiences.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like the funny thing is that my two sisters and I, and as well as several nieces, we're all very, very, very much interested in this stuff. But I can't really say from a personal point of view that I've ever had any kind of experience. Why I've been almost obsessed with this stuff since the time I probably, 7 years old maybe, I have no idea. I just know that this stuff has always fascinated me, always. And, I think the older I get, and Don and I were talking about this, I've had dreams regarding people who have passed, loved ones and everything, that I could tell you, they happened 7 years ago, I could tell you exactly what the dream was. But I couldn't tell you what I dreamt last night.
Right.
So that happens more as I get older, but that's the only type of, I can say, anything I've got going on. But as far as ever going on an investigation and having any kind of, somebody touching my hand, I've never had that, and I want to experience that, but I go in there automatically believing I'm not going to, and maybe that's why I don't.
I mean, as far as physical experiences, such as what you're describing of being touched with, I've never been touched either. I've never had that happen to me. I've gotten sick before, but that's about it. And you say when you get sick, you can kind of pull that off as almost anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be paranormal. So whether or not if it was something paranormal that made me sick, I don't know. I can't 100% definitively say yes. However, that was kind of an odd experience that I had. I've never really been touched or scratched, or I've never seen anything really being thrown off a ledge or anything like that. I've seen things fall off, land 2 or 3 feet away, but nothing that I've seen on TV or heard stories about with things being slammed up against walls and shit.
Now, I want to talk about your book for a minute, Jason, which I have read, and I know a few people have read it and they love it. Now,
and the name of it is for promotion.
And the name of it is.
The name of the book is called Recipes.
And it basically tells about your experiences when you were young.
It does.
How you were brought into the paranormal world, or how you became interested anyway.
Yeah, it's a nice little tale, and it's not just about paranormal, I guess you can say. I mean, it's got a variety of different sort of things in there, and different ways that it can help people, not just in with ghosts or anything, but it goes on being bullied. It goes on romance when you're a teenager, and a bunch of other things as well, not just paranormal. But yeah, I mean, the events that I encountered back then, when that book was taking place, actually, it was kind of odd, and it didn't. I guess you can say it didn't really get me into the paranormal. It got me into actually investigating paranormal phenomena more than anything, which is kind of cool. It led me into certain things, and how I accidentally stumbled upon catching EVPs and using compasses and so forth and so on, which is kind of interesting. But it's things like that led me to be, I guess you could say, an investigator.
Now, do you think, just because I had this personal experience too, being really, really bullied as a kid, and me, maybe not necessarily being bullied, but it pushed you to be kind of introverted more, and an outsider, whatever term you want to put on there. I tend to notice that people I've met that have had that similar experience tend to be the ones that are more, I don't know, have more. And I know I hate using the word paranormal all the time, but it's such a general term, but having more experiences or being more open-minded to that. I mean, do you think that the two kind of go hand? I kind of think they go hand in hand. Whether it's because you were alone more, maybe, how people treated you.
It's a good question, and I don't think it's the fact that you're alone more, and the fact that or how people treat you. I think it's that sorrow that lives within everybody who gets picked on a lot and so forth and so on. I think it's that energy that attracts the paranormal phenomena. So, I mean, maybe that's why they might have more interactions or more experiences. I don't know, but just an idea to throw out there.
That's an interesting point. I spent my whole elementary school years trying to fit in.
Okay. I never tried to fit in.
But I never did, and because I was, for one reason or another, constantly picked on, to the point where, as I got older, all I wanted to do was blend in with a wallpaper. I didn't want to stand out by any means. Serious. And that's part of the reason my husband and I, we were both military, but that's why we never had a real wedding. I couldn't handle the thought of, walking down an aisle and people looking at me.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I couldn't handle it. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I actually went and tried on dresses and all that stuff, and I started thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to have to walk down the aisle and people are going to look at me, and I started having panic attacks, and I'm like, I can't do this.
That makes total sense. I admit I kind of like the attention, but just saying.
Yeah, no, not me.
The one that wants to know, baby. Yeah.
I kind of went the opposite way. being severely introverted, I mean severely, and to, okay, bam, here I am, I've been reborn, everyone pay attention to me,
baby. Oh, man.
But at that point, I had no idea.
I turned to drugs when I got picked on.
You what?
I started doing a lot of drugs in my teenage years because of the picked on. And I'm not going to lie, that whole book could be based on one big hallucination that I don't even realize. I can't deny that. I cannot deny that.
She's laughing. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
You're like, oh, this is a drug. Yeah. I was like,
I'm not going to lie. I mean, that whole
oh, what a trip, man.
damn.
Just think of this, Jason. All of your sexual experiences could have been one giant hallucination.
I could have been up 50 miles off and not even realize it.
You could still be a virgin for all you know.
Well, I have kids, so that I can't be now.
Yeah, I'm quite sure you're not. Just saying.
I have evidence that I've had sex. At least twice. At least twice.
At least twice. Now, Sue and I, on the other hand, we've maintained our virginity for all these years, just waiting for the right moment to come.
Oh, my God. I hope to God my husband's not, like, driving somewhere listening to this because he's going to get in an accident from laughing.
Just keep in mind, if you don't use the plumbing, it's going to go bad. You're going to have to change the pipe.
True that. That's the truth. Or you get a clog in your system.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. Everything I do somehow, I don't know what it is, somehow turns into sex.
Yeah,
I'll just put it out there. And
that's not very good to put over the air like that. You're going to get 100 messages now saying, hey, what's up? You want to hang out? You can just post some sausage.
I've already got a couple odd messages, and I'm just like, what? But
I really want to answer this?
probably, if they're odd messages, it's probably my sister. Never mind. Did I say that? I don't even know if she's listening right now.
Okay. Well, I won't say. Cassie has a freak flag that she likes to fly, and I'm always saying that because she's probably listening. Just kidding.
I'm probably going to get a text any moment. WTF? She's going to be, yeah. I don't know.
Hey, now it's nothing she wouldn't say about me too.
Hey, it's all good.
Well, since I'm easily distracted off of sex for a second, but just a second.
Really?
We'll come back in.
I will go back there.
We will take the break from sex and change possessions later.
Oh, she's probably already forgetting what she was just going to say, so you've already
I know. I'm so easily distracted. It's ridiculous. I did want to ask, just for anyone listening, or anyone that is a fan of Jason, which I know there are a lot out there, and because, Sue doesn't know, and I don't think I really know, what was your most intense paranormal experience? That one that kind of stood out for you, that really brought you the closest to going, oh my God, there's really something beyond this world.
Well, I'm going to have to encourage everyone to buy my second book when it comes out, called Feeble Minds, in order to answer that question.
Oh, that's a freaking plug.
Yeah. Now, a while back, probably about 10 years ago, and since at that point, I've always investigated little bullshit things, so forth and so on, and check out in the cemeteries up until that point. But
I got into this cool hospital. And I think it was my first hospital I ever did. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to actually try to go through all my notes and shit up in my office. But I'm pretty sure it was my first hospital. Well, anyway, we're investigating the hospital, and I'm walking around with my equipment hanging out and all kinds of weird coming from the back side, you know. You know how I do it. Well, anyway, the hospital, it's not the ghosts that's in the hospital that kind of fucks with you. I guess you could say it's the building itself, which is kind of weird. A lot of people don't, you know, share stories about a particular building, but, I mean, the building itself is just sad. It's depressing. You're walking through the halls, and you almost want to break out in tears half the time. I mean, it's that intense in there. It's just the whole overall environment. So, I mean, that would probably be my most intense moment as an investigator the first time I went in there. And then after that, it always kind of got better. But that particular location kind of calls to you, too. For some odd reason, it just draws you back. It's like, I got to go there. I got to go there. It's like every week it becomes a destiny to go there. And I spent like an entire year going there every fucking weekend. I don't know why. Something that I felt I had to do.
Maybe someone was trying to connect with you, or, you know, just my opinion. No, that's not that place that, I mean, no, obviously no names mentioned, but that place that you might investigate, just for no knowledge.
It's a different place.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll have to take these fine ladies there one day.
Yeah.
It's a place that actually appeared on one of the Ghost Adventures shows. Needless to say, I mean, the evidence that I've captured out of that building is 10 times better than they caught, so I'm pretty thankful to be able to mention that shit. But it is an interesting place, a big hospital, a lot of buildings involved with it, and you know, I'll have to take it there one day.
That would be awesome. I want Sue to go that way, because I want Sue to have an experience, just because I've had so many. I kind of feel like sometimes
I'll get Sue an experience.
I want her to have an experience.
I'll give her one to never forget.
Oh, right.
And the watch is up to
you. Now, let me back to this, though, because this is a question. Do you think there are people, because I jokingly call myself this, but are there people that, like, the minute they walk in, the energy, because I've never had an experience, is because there's like there's magnets, but then there's repellents.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you were in the room, Jason. I was telling Dawn this when we were at Palmyra. I was on an investigation once, and a woman was in there using dowsing rods. You know, and she said that the minute I walked in, they stopped. So she was really kind of very agitated, and not exactly a people person anyway, but she said, "Will you please leave the room?" And I did, and she caught me, you know, a couple minutes later, and she was, "By the way, the minute you left the room, they stirred up again." And it's like every time I go somewhere, nothing happens, but I'm like, maybe it's me.
I don't think it's
freaking paranormal doubter.
I'm a buzzkill, is what I am.
A good buzzkill.
Paranormal buzzkill. I don't know. I mean, that was a question. I was like, you know, I probably want to take the dowsing rod seriously or not. I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. But she said, "Please leave the room. They were working fine until you came in here."
I would have said, "Suck my ass."
I didn't care.
I probably would have said that, yeah.
The chick was whacked anyways.
But politely, you could suck my ass while I leave.
Yeah, no,
but that's just me.
I went elsewhere, and, it was fine, let her do her thing, but she made a point. I just want to let you know that the minute you left the room and all the activity started again.
Well, I think the question is actually pretty honest, and quite frankly, I mean, maybe the solution to it. You have to say the woman who said that, yeah, she can suck my fucking whole 2 inches. Now, that ain't kind of cool. You don't say that shit. I will say this, though. I look at investigating and trying to, get ghosts' attention. Ghosts aren't going to listen to dowsing rods. They're not going to listen to K2 meters. They're not designed to look for ghosts. Not one of them fucking pieces of equipment is. It's not going to happen. You're not going to find ghosts with a K2 meter, people. It won't happen. What's going to attract ghosts is the person that you are. Now that's where your question comes relevant. You got to kind of think about it like picking up chicks in a bar. There's certain people that it's going to happen, and there's some people that it isn't. And it's the same way. It's who you pull yourself off as an individual that's going to get you laid that night. And it's the same thing as ghosts. Who you are as an individual is going to attract a specific type of entity. Now, does that necessarily mean ghosts are completely repelled to you? No. There's going to be someone out there that says, hey, that chick's kind of cool, I'm going to hang out with her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was just my absolute cynicism that just is why, I'm just not setting myself up for the experience. I don't know. I go in there and I honestly believe, and I think my sister was like this at one time until she actually did have an experience, but I actually believe nothing's going to happen. There's just no doubt in my mind that there's just no doubt nothing's going to happen. I enjoy it. I like the history, but as far as do I believe stuff like that exists? Yes. Do I believe it's ever going to happen to me? No.
I will get you an experience. That's the promise. I'll get you a location. I will let you walk around with my gear. I will let you listen to my real-time recorder, and I can assure you that by the end of the night you will hear something, well, maybe not see something, but you'll definitely hear something.
Works for me. I mean, I just, I don't know, but it's just nothing yet. Not that like I've, got a plethora of experiences under my belt. I mean, investigations under my belt, but you think something, but. But I absolutely believe it. I believe it's out there. I a lot of people, think that people like us who believe it's out there are crazy in the head. Let them. That's fine. I just think that there's just a very thin veil, and that to some degree we coexist. And because I don't think that anybody's past, no matter whether they're going north or south, I don't think they're where they're supposed to be yet. And that goes back into religion, which I'm not going to get into, obviously, but I just don't think anybody's where they're supposed to be ultimately yet. So where else are they going to go?
Not exactly where they're supposed to be. Do we even know that? We don't. We don't. There's no evidence to support religion, and I know that puts people off, but that's perfectly fine. But there isn't no evidence. There's no evidence that there's a heaven or hell. There's nothing out there to support that. And a lot of people, and that's where it goes into what I said earlier, a lot of people say, well, you just got to have belief. Well, if I put belief in it, then everything's religious. And everything that I capture, every piece of evidence that I get doesn't help further the research. It helps religion. It makes no sense. But, that's why I got to say, that neutral bystander whenever I go into a location.
Well, that being said, though, when you go into places, and this is directed to both of you, I mean, when you go into places that may have a negative, do you do anything in advance to prepare yourself? Or to protect yourself, I mean?
I use condoms.
I set myself up for that one, damn it.
All right, I used to think you off the rubber glove. Yeah. Because I noticed a couple people at Palmyra, they were wearing like medallions and stuff with saints. And
I carry a big exorcist cross, but again, I really didn't until I really had a really bad experience. And as Lorraine Warren's, I think it was Lorraine or her son-in-law. Anyway, the point being is that he said, if everyone eventually, because the biggest atheist in the world, you don't believe in any kind of higher power or any kind of religion. If you were in a horrible accident and your child was in your arms dying, you're going to start praying to someone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. But I personally do, because I do feel that, and I'm not by any means a super religious person, but, I guess it just, to me, just goes on faith and some kind of faith, whatever you want to call it. And
all those medallions, all those little trinkets that people wander around with, the cross of Jesus Christ medallion, to St. Michael's prayer tattooed on your back. It's only as good as your faith is. So, I mean...
It's the energy that you put into it, that you put behind that piece of something we can hold on to, or that tattoo. It's the intention you put behind it.
Exactly. So basically, any kind of medallion is just as good as walking around with a shiny object in your pocket. As long as you have faith in something,
right,
that's what's going to work. Personally, I think people should be a bit more show a little bit more self-strength, spiritual strength.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's a bit more sufficient than anything. But, let's just face it, if you put your faith in some kind of trinket, well, what exactly is that trinket going to do? You know what I mean?
To me, it's true, but to me, it just represents
symbolic,
Yeah, just because I think as humans we need something tangible to hold on to represent your faith or your belief or your energy or whatever you want to call it.
Again, I'm going back to my condom statement.
Oh, those allergies this time of year.
Those things break, baby. There's 9 of us kids, and I can tell you none of us are planned.
Dad was trying to prevent his midlife crisis.
Oh, my God.
That's what he was trying to do.
Didn't work out too well for him, huh?
No. That was back in the day when vasectomies were illegal, and they were because it was a predominantly Catholic area, and birth control did not work for my mother. She had, severe blood pressure reaction and all that. So, lo and behold, thank goodness, because here I am. If that stuff had worked, I wouldn't be around.
It is what it is, though.
Yep.
I'm glad you're around.
Thank your mother had a little bit of that Jesus wine that night. Honey, let's have some Jesus wine and lay down together and chat. Well, I want to ask you, Sue, and I bring this up because you have known me since we were, pretty much the same age, but since we were little.
Uh-huh.
And you know about the experiences that I had with some people that you know. We'll say that.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you've known, what's your thought on all the paranormal experiences? Not that I had personally, but what was going on then, or when you look back at at these people and what I went through, what's your thought on that?
I think this is, just to kind of regroup, this is something I didn't know about until actually recently. I didn't know what was going on when it was going on, but I just know that it had, over in the last probably decade, I had heard from multiple people that this was going on. My belief, just because of the situation, was that it was centered around one person.
Right.
And I absolutely believe it was going on because somebody that I know very well, who doesn't talk about stuff like that, admitted, because it was just a question where that person was asked, do you believe in paranormal? And they said, absolutely, I experienced firsthand. And I'm like, what's going on? And that's when he told me. And that's the first I'd ever heard of it. And then multiple people, such as yourself and other people, have validated that. I think because it happened in multiple locations, meaning several residences.
Yeah, it did.
It was centered around one person. And I just think I know who the person is. I don't know if you agree with me. But I just think that the person had a very tumultuous childhood, and there was just a lot of negative juju, whatever you want to call it, following her, and what she did or called upon or did as a kid, I don't know. But I think that's where it came from. I don't know.
it's just like for me personally. I mean, just for who's listening, what I'm talking about is when I was a kid, I knew these people, and I was, over there a lot from the time I was like 11, and I witnessed, and it was a large portion of all my different very intense paranormal experiences with this particular family, and I kind of stayed with them for many, many years. And I mean, there's so many different stories and of incidences that happened to me because of, I would spend time with them and hang out there and everything. But it's, for me, from your point of view, it's like validation for what I went through, because it was pretty intense, and I had so many experiences. It wasn't even all these years. This person is unexpected.
Welcome to Block Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.